Hey, what's up guys? So I'm here at Systems Unlimited in Bellevue, Washington. They are a high-end custom install shop, and we've got a bunch of cars here today, all of which are getting different combinations of radar detectors or laser jammers or audio equipment or maybe all of that stuff installed in their vehicle. And walking around here, I've been noticing some really cool installations. A lot of the owners of these cars, there's a lot of exotic cars, the owners want things that are kind of clean and hidden and stealthy, you know, looking factory, looking OEM. And so there's some really cool things that I've noticed here of what this installer's actually been doing to blend this stuff in really nicely. And so I wanted to go ahead and show you guys some of the tips and tricks and things that they've been doing. It's definitely better than anything I could do myself. And a lot of these cars are at various stages of installation. Some of the cars are taken apart so we can take a look at the internals, while other cars have more final products. And so I just wanted to kind of walk around the shop with you guys and show you some of the cool things that we've got installed here. So starting off, we've got two Ferraris in the shop today. This first one is an 812 Superfast. And I want to first start by taking a look at the rear of the vehicle. There's actually laser jammers installed here. There's a set of ALPs. Now, normally with laser jammers, you're typically going to install the two regular heads right up there, right? However, for aesthetic reasons, you may not actually want the little black bricks right there. And so for that reason, they've actually hidden the ALP heads. This is pretty cool. Now, normally on the car, this right here is a red reflector. And what they've done here is they've actually removed the red reflectors and they've created these black pieces of, well, acrylic, special IR transmissive plastic. And the ALP head, it's actually installed right here. They put a little bracket behind this piece of plastic and then just covered the whole thing with the black acrylic. And so now it looks factory. It blends right in and you can't even see it with the naked eye. I've got something similar on my car too, same material, but mine is actually installed just above the license plate area. On this car, they actually built it in here on the rear of the car so you can't see it at all. And so looking to the back of the car, you're not going to be able to see any of the ALP heads at all. The only ones that you're going to be able to see, there's a little TX head just above the rear license plate to the right of the backup camera. That's it. Otherwise, the ALP heads in this car are completely stealth. Now, as far as the front ALP heads, there's a set of triples here. So we've got one head here, a second one there, and a third one over on the driver's side. Now, on this car, they're actually installed behind the mesh grille. And generally speaking, installing heads like this behind a grille is not something that I would recommend. Now, I actually asked the installers about it, and they said that this mesh grille here in front of the heads, the mesh openings are pretty wide, and they've had a chance to test it, and they said that it's able to perform and jam properly. And in fact, I've actually had a chance to test this exact car a few weeks or a few months back, and much to my surprise, I found it was able to jam both front and rear. Now, in general, again, I still wouldn't recommend putting anything in front of laser jamming heads. If anything is going to be blocking the laser signal coming in or out, that could potentially be an issue. I mean, it's possible that in some chances it's going to test out okay, but then in other specific situations you could run into issues. But nevertheless, it still seems like it worked okay in this case because of the fact that it's got a wider mesh opening. And I asked them about it. They said they also try aligning the heads kind of with the openings in the grille. So, I mean, if it works, right? That's what testing is all about. I can't say that I would recommend it. And I know they're actually looking at potentially doing the plexiglass covers or the acrylic covers in the front of this car. But nevertheless, yeah. Now, I've actually had a chance to talk with the owner about his install, and he said he's been hit with laser more than 10 times in this car, and he hasn't had any issues. And so it looks like the extra work that was done to minimize any blockages from the grille in front of the ALP sensors, that does seem to be effective. Next, hopping inside the car, the Redenso controller and display, it's actually installed right here next to a lot of the other buttons. And the Redenso controller and display, it's located right here. You can see there's a couple other buttons and sort of button modules located here in the car, and this one seems like it blends pretty nicely. They actually created and custom fabricated this housing for it to slot in here, and I noticed the display for the Redenso actually looks pretty similar, kind of the black and white display for the rest of the car, so it actually looks pretty nice installed here. Now, the way that you see it, the driver, he's pretty tall, so when he's looking at it, he can actually see the display like this, actually through the steering wheel, and then he's able to access all the buttons here like that. Now, normally this stuff would be installed maybe up here, but they said it actually kind of got in the way of the rear view mirror. There was limited space. I know on some cars they actually install it down here, but they'd actually mentioned they don't like doing that because if you ever wind up looking at the display here, your hands are going to turn and your car kind of veers off to the side. So they actually said they don't like doing any of the controllers right there, which I thought was actually pretty interesting, or the displays rather. And so for that reason, they found the best place to put it in this specific car, it's actually right under here. Next, we're going to take a look at a Ferrari Roma. Obviously, it is much more taken apart at this point in the install process, and this car is getting a Redenso RCM and an ALP setup front and rear. One thing that I like, they've got obviously the front bumper pulled right now, and they've got the ALP connectors right here. They're installed in such a way to make it more serviceable, so in case the owner needs to remove the front bumper again in the future, it makes it really easy to disconnect the ALP heads as needed and then just plug them back in once you're done. And as far as the ALP placement, I know we were talking at the beginning before they got started and we were saying maybe you could put them here, but these holes are too small. You could move them maybe to the center, but then the heads start getting too close together and maybe aesthetically it wouldn't be as nice. What they're actually going to wind up doing is they have two air intakes right here, and they're going to wind up actually, well, they've already covered them with the black acrylic. And then for your ALP heads, you've got them here installed on brackets, and they're going to be installed like this, basically aiming through the acrylic heads. And so you're going to have one right over here, and then you're going to have a second one over here on this side. Now, as far as the TX head, that's going to wind up going right over here. You can see it's already been secured right here in place. And something cool they want to do to actually make this look symmetrical is they're going to wind up putting some more black acrylic in front of the head here, as well as the same thing on the other side, just to make it look the same left and right. Now, looking back inside the bumper again one more time, something I thought was pretty interesting is you can see where a lot of the factory cables are run and attached to the inside of the bumper like this. Now, they use similar connectors like this as needed, but they also showed me a bunch of different types of connectors that they have, many of which I've never seen before, and they're all designed for different use cases. So maybe instead of attaching to the bumper like this, you need to grab onto something, etc. They've got a bunch of different connectors depending on what works best for each specific cable run. And then hopping into the driver's seat here, the Redenso controller and display is in this car installed in their typical location right up here above the rear view mirror. And something that's actually pretty amazing is this entire panel here has been completely fabricated from scratch, including the Redenso controller that's been built directly into it. It's been designed to look factory, it's the same color and texture and everything else, and so yeah, it looks like it's just built directly into the car. Now, in the rear of the car, there's a bunch of audio work that's getting done. I don't know anything about audio, so I can't tell you anything about that. But if you look over here, you can see the rear antenna for the Redenso RCM. And the bracket that the antenna is attached to, it's nice and sturdy. They've actually secured it right here to a factory bolt just above the rear exhaust. Now, here's the rear bumper for the Roma. It's obviously off the car. Something that's pretty interesting is right here, this little slot, this used to be a reverse light. They're actually going to be removing the light and repositioning it. And in this slot, they're going to be installing the rear TX sensor. They're going to put a little bit of black acrylic in front of it to cover it up. And the TX is just going to be peeking through this little hole. Now, for the regular heads in the rear, they're actually going to be installed down here. You can see they've actually cut these two holes into the mesh area. And then to cover it up, they've actually created these little acrylic covers like this, which are just going to go right here into place and then cover up the two rear heads. Now, on the side of the rear bumper right here, there's actually this red reflector. Now, the owner actually took a look at the 812 Superfast that was in, and you can see they actually smoked out those same reflectors that used to be on that car to make them nice and black. The light can still shine through as needed, but otherwise it's going to be blacked out. And so they're going to wind up doing the same thing here on the Roma as well. There was also a GT3 RS that came in that was a previous customer as well, and something that was pretty cool is his rear ALP heads. If you take a look, they're actually installed in the rear slats on the rear of the car. It's a very stealthy location that I haven't seen before, and it's a nice way to actually hide the ALP heads and still ensure that they're effective. There's also a Dodge Demon that's here in the shop, which is pretty cool to see. This car just arrived, so there's nothing installed in it yet, but it's going to be getting Redenso radar detector front and rear, as well as ALP front and rear, and they're going to be doing the acrylic covers in the front for this car too. And then finally, for the last couple cars that are here, the first one, there's this big Hummer that's here. No countermeasures that are being installed, but there's a ton of other work that's being done to it, under the hood, in the interior, etc. And finally, there's a Panamera here as well. This one's not getting any countermeasures installed. This one's just here for some audio upgrades. And so yeah, that's a quick look of all the installs that they currently have going on here at the shop. If you'd like to see some more installations, hop on over to their Facebook page, and they post a bunch of different pictures as they work on different cars. And if you're in the Seattle area and you'd like to come here and get some work done in your car as well, you can reach out to Charles at Systems Unlimited. Just shoot him an email, or I'll put their contact information down in the video description for you as well. And so yeah, a big thanks to Systems Unlimited for let me take a look at their shop. Thanks for all their help that they're doing with my car. I'll have another video dedicated just to this, and you can check out that video as well. And so, yeah, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you in the next video.